Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. And I'm so excited. It's Friday. I hope you have big, fabulous plans this weekend. I am hosting Supper Club tonight. I'm really excited. It's just such a fun opportunity to gather around the table. It's part cooking class, part wine education, all fun. It's so good. And it's so interesting because you know so much about my Fridays, including Favorite Fridays on Instagram, where I'm mixing up a garden-inspired craft cocktail. So much of these celebrations and this hospitality is an invitation to linger. And so often that is including an alcoholic beverage. And so it was really interesting when I met today's guest, Silvia Subirana, who is a part of a mission called My Dry 30, which is the opposite of enjoying a cocktail. And the thing that I love about this podcast is we're not just having conversations with duplicate versions of ourselves. Like, there are some people that listen to this podcast that don't want to travel to France. That is okay. Like, we are not all the same, and we are all doing what feels good to us in our bodies and in our lives. And everyone's yes looks different, although some of our yeses look the same. And so I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed hearing her story. I enjoyed so much hearing about the great work she's doing with My Dry 30. And I just loved that she was also not judging me about how I spend my Friday nights. So it was just this beautiful reminder of what we already know, that everyone gets to do whatever feels good to them, and that we can celebrate each other for the things that we have in common, as well as the things that are different about us. And that is only one little thing that is different about us. We have so much in common, sweet Silvia and I. Her bio might not make you think that, especially as I read this first part that she's a clinical psychologist. I am not, but she is delightful. Silvia Subirana is a clinical psychologist and the head of content development at My Dry 30, an innovative app designed to help users take control of their relationship with alcohol. But it's so much more than that. My Dry 30 helps people discover greater meaning, happiness, and fulfillment in their lives so they can become a healthier version of themselves. To help users achieve this, the app integrates tools like hypnotherapy, journaling, readings, and many other exercises to support lasting change. Silvia prides herself on her genuine curiosity, always eager to learn and share her knowledge with those around her. Her journey into this field stems from her lifelong quest to understand the mind and her desire to help others. To deepen her knowledge, Silvia earned a master's degree in clinical psychology, along with 2 postgraduate programs in grief and sexual therapy. Having danced all her life, she understands how the body often reveals what the mind suppresses, reinforcing her commitment to holistic well-being as the core focus of her work. Through My Dry 30, Sylvia empowers people to develop healthier coping mechanisms and build supportive communities. She shares her insights on personal transformation, self connection, and overcoming fear, as well as guidance for living a more intentional life. By combining mental health tips with practical tools, My Dry 30 inspires users to start their journeys of personal growth and self discovery. I cannot wait to share this beautiful, informative, expansive conversation with Silvia Subirana. Silvia, I am so delighted to have you here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you in advance for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's going to be amazing. I'm very intrigued by your work, and I think it's really going to be in service to our listeners to rethink what our culture and media is putting in our face and pouring in our glasses all day long, every day. But before we get into that yummy, juicy conversation, I would love to know, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
I am quite an impatient person. So the way that I love saying yes to myself is by taking time, taking it easy, and just embracing how long things take sometimes and just be more patient.
Oh my gosh. And I've already seen that evidenced. As just to catch you up, listeners, before we hit record, I tried to get onto this call and my speaker wasn't working. And then I had to install some updates and then I had to reboot my computer and all of these things. And I was getting nervous because I've never met you, Sylvia, and I didn't want you to think that I don't know what I'm doing or that I'm disrespectful of your time and all the things. And as we were reflecting on that, when I finally 10 minutes later was able to log in and hear, it's so fascinating to me how we can create this narrative when nothing has actually happened, but I can sit down and go, oh my gosh, technology, you're not my friend, and this person thinks this, and I'm this, and we can get so spun instead
Hmm.
of taking this opportunity to breathe and pause and to know that, remind ourselves everything is always working out for me, and I have plenty of time to do everything that needs to be done. And I have fabulous, expansive conversations, and everybody that interacts with me is full of grace and patience, all the things. So it was such a lesson for me to remind myself of what I actually know to be true, and such a beautiful reflection of your intentions and how they are playing out and how other people are the beneficiaries of you deciding to embrace the time and space that things take.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, you said it very beautifully.
Well, thank you. When I get out of my own way, the words do just come out.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that comes very naturally to you? Is patience or just setting these really beautiful, gracious intentions for yourself that have wide ripple effects? How has that become part of your being?
I think it was because I was a very active kid and teenager. I was doing lots of sports. I was like always busy and I just wouldn't stop. Like I would always have something going on, right? So that didn't really allow me to be patient because if things were not happening at the moment, then I was going to be late for the next thing and for the next thing. So I needed to be fast and I needed to get things done, which can be very effective. Don't get me wrong, and can be like productively. I was doing so many things. But then eventually I was not allowing myself to sit down and connect with myself, right? And when I started to like study in uni, I realized that that like mindset that I had before, like during my teenage years, was not working
Mhm.
because the only thing that was generating in myself was stress, was anxiety, was a pressure to be in a certain way, to always be perfect, right? Like that perfection that is not achievable. So I was always chasing something that could never be reached. So I was just like in this loop of perfectionism and impatience, right? And I was like, wait a minute, why don't I take 10 minutes to sit down, leave my phone aside, and just see what I'm feeling, see what my body tells me. And you like it's fascinating when we stop and just look at ourselves, we see, oh, I feel this emotion. And where do I feel it? Maybe I feel it in my chest, or maybe I feel it in my forehead. I feel pressure, or maybe I feel like my hands are very cold. And you connect with little things that normally we just don't see because we're so caught up in doing things that we just don't allow ourselves to have that time.
That's so beautiful and well said. And I can see just based on my own life experience and in raising my daughter is 11. I have to always think about that. It goes so fast to see how culture and society and my conditioning interact with how I do things, and taking this time and space to recalibrate, to reevaluate, to trust that changing my pattern is not only in my best interest, but it's also safe because nobody's mad at us overdoing and overgiving and overproducing. Nobody is telling us to stop. Um, from an outside standpoint, maybe if something's being neglected, that neglected person is telling us to stop, but it's not necessarily to check in and fill our own cup, but to take care of them, which, is just
Mhm.
changing the focus. So how are you finding doing that, and how did that inform the work that you're doing now?
So for me, a key point was lockdown, COVID lockdown,
Mm.
because what like I saw that that pattern was not working for me, but of course I had been doing it for so many years that I just didn't know how to stop it, right? So during my years in uni, I was trying to stop, but it didn't really work. But then eventually I finished uni and um lockdown came and I was just well forced to stop, forced to be like, okay, now you're in your room and you don't do anything because nobody's doing anything, right? Oh, oh my God. On like the first 2 weeks, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, I just need to get out, I just need to see people, I just need to do something.
Right.
And it was so frustrating. But at the same time, after 3 months or 2 months and a half, and I don't even remember how long it was, I realized if I've learned something, is to stop, is to give myself the opportunity to get bored, to just see that things go on in the life and you don't always need to be busy,
Right.
that you can just have a morning for yourself or an evening for yourself, even a Saturday night, and you don't have plans. Just have it for yourself, self-care time. And now I see it as such a huge opportunity to reconnect with myself and
Hmm.
find that balance because it's so easy to become unbalanced and well, life is stressful sometimes. So, um, to reconnect with ourselves and get back to our balance is just crucial. And COVID had many, many bad things, but for me, it also helped me. Well, it forced me to learn how to stop.
Right, for sure. And I completely agree. There was such a blessing in the global pause
Hmm.
because it wasn't like you made this hard decision for yourself to take time for yourself while everything else kept going and you were feeling behind. We all had this opportunity to push the reset button, and a lot of things changed as a result of that.
Hmm.
Personally, in my own life, my entire life changed. And I'm very excited about that. It was just calling me to my highest and best. And I'm no longer trying to make something happen. I'm allowing what is supposed to happen. And I am focused on how I feel and being in alignment with myself. And that being the only criteria for what I do next. Even though I have responsibility to my daughter, I have responsibility to my clients, I have a responsibility to this property that I am a trustee of, I still have my own guidance system is what I am most concerned about and working toward only being concerned about. How are you finding that? Because I know that that's what you are teaching and what your work is centered around. And I want to hear all the different facets that that touches. But how are you finding helping your clients, the people that you're in service to, carving that time out without the benefit, quote unquote, of a global pause?
So for me, well, of course, I was forced to slow down, but I was eventually looking for tools. I just didn't know where to look for them. I
Mhm.
just didn't find them. But I was trying to look for them. So now what I try to do is create those tools so we don't have to stop the world for people to be able to pause, right? And
Right.
of course, it's going to be less drastic because, again, world continues, like everything just keeps moving, right? But it doesn't have to be. It actually is more beneficial that it's not as drastic, right? Because then by taking baby steps, you can embrace the change and it's less abrupt and less. Sometimes when it's too drastic, too abrupt, it creates like a resistance from yourself. You're like, this is too much, right? You
Sure.
see it as a big thing here in front of your face, like, oh God, this is too much. I don't know where to start. But taking baby steps, you can actually like make that massive ball that you have in front of your face. You just take it in the little pieces and then you just take one and take the other one and take the other one, and little by little, you will touch all those little pieces, right? You will embrace all that change, but with more time. Again, going back to what I said before, patience. Patience is the
Um,
key. You don't need to change everything right now. You have time.
yes.
So just do it gracefully. Allow yourself to take it in. Don't try to overdo it because your body will eventually just like stop. It will freeze and it will say, no, this is too much. I don't want to do that. Right. So this won't be beneficial.
Right. And that's obviously why waste the time if it's not going to work.
Exactly.
Right. Like we've got things to do in our
Exactly.
pausing and patience and not doing so much.
Mhm.
So you have developed a program as well that is specifically geared toward sobriety.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
yes and no, right? Like
exactly. Yeah.
I want to delve into
I'll get
that
into that. Yeah.
because right, and I think it's so fun because a lot of my listeners know that every Friday night on Instagram I shake up a cocktail, and that was totally born from the pandemic of wanting to show up for my community and like you feeling a need for connection during this
Hmm.
time and space where we were not allowed to go anywhere. And I found that as soon as just one person joined my live, I felt like they were in my kitchen and it completely energized me. And I was already pivoting my business to do something with all the produce that we had planted and knowing that no one was coming over for barn dinners or anything like that. So I created these farm boxes that I was delivering produce and eggs and flowers. And then my friend gave me a beautiful recipe book of garden inspired cocktails. And so I just started including cocktail kits in these farm boxes because no one could go out for drinks. And so I thought, well, I'm already going live every Friday sharing some favorite something. And I'm also delivering these cocktail kits. I'll just repurpose my content, as we say, and use the whatever the cocktail is for the live. So it's been very fun. It's been very engaging. It's interesting how quickly people associate things with a person, which, I guess we would call that good branding. And I will say that most of those times I shake up the cocktail. It's beautiful. It's highlighting something that's growing on the property or some other seasonal thing. I take a sip. I tell everyone, oh my gosh, this is so great. I end the live. I write the caption. I throw my drink out because I just don't desire to drink the whole thing. And of course, like I get to do whatever's in alignment for me. And it doesn't necessarily feel inauthentic or like that I'm not being genuine. And I do want people to know, like, I don't just sit home every Friday night and drink all these cocktails, but I do it because of the connection, because of I love showing people how to do things. I like that it's quick. I like that sometimes if my daughter isn't with her dad, then I make a mocktail as well. So she gets a fancy drink and I get a fancy drink, and she always finishes hers and I rarely finish mine. And I just think it's so timely that you reached out to me, even though maybe on paper our missions don't align, but I'm in a space of reevaluating. And if I'm doing those lives because of the connection, then I can reevaluate how that happens. And sometimes, this is such a long way to say, sometimes we think we can't change because of the way that we've been showing up, and that we just don't know how to be in the same room, but not the same person that we've been in the past. And so I'd love to hear in the midst of how you came to do this work, why it's important to you, but also how we can implement these changes that feel very expected in a way that we're going to act at a party, at a barbecue, at whatever time of year it is, or on a Friday night for people on Instagram.
You've said so many interesting things, and I could talk for like an hour, I would say. But
Perfect.
um, the first thing and the most important thing that I'm gonna say is that what I try to teach people is I don't care if you drink, if you don't drink, it's completely your choice. But choice, that's the key word. I want you to make the choice. I don't want you to make it out of habit because when it's out of habit, it's not on your control. You're not choosing that, right? So
Right.
in alcohol and everything, like it can happen with anything, any habit that we have in our lives, right? So even if you are used to having a drink or not having a drink, or for example, for you, you want to have a little sip, and I don't see that as fake or unauthentic or anything like that. You just have a little bit because that's the amount that you like. And then after that, you're not going to do a tiny cocktail, right? For the amount that you like. So you just do the whole cocktail. And then whenever you are full or you don't want any more, you just throw it away. I think that's really, really authentic. That's showing that you're sticking to your values, right? And that is me, that is key. That is what I try to teach people. Like with the program, my Dry 30 program, the team wants to help people reconsider their relationship with alcohol.
Mm.
We're not going to demonize alcohol. We understand this life sometimes is hard and we're here to have fun as well. So if you want to have a cocktail, if you want to have a wine, like a glass of wine, go for it. Like, I'm not gonna say no. Who am I to say no to that? Like, I don't have the power to say no to that, right? So we're not gonna demonize it. We're not gonna make you feel guilty because you're having a drink or two or three. We're just gonna give you the tools so you can make the choice. Okay, now I am in the mood for a drink. Now I want to have a drink. I'm out with my friends. We're having some drinks and I just want a cocktail. Okay, have it, you know?
Yes.
But the problem is when it becomes a habit. The problem is when you arrive from work and you are stressed. And then because you're stressed, you're like, oh, that for that, I have a tool, and that tool is alcohol.
Mm.
Because that is not a healthy tool. That is
Sure.
not helping you deal with that stress. That stress is not going to disappear. You have to take care of it. You have to talk with it, right? You have to understand what's going on behind that stress. What is the thing that is making you feel like that? And when you've tackled that, when you've worked on that, then that emotion is eventually going to go away. But if you take alcohol to numb it, it gets numb for like some hours, few hours, but then it will eventually come back. And sometimes it comes back even harder, like it just hits you in the face, right? And you're like,
Right.
oh my God, this is too much. So that is not a healthy tool. So yeah, I think that the like conclusion is that we just try to give healthier tools for people to deal with those unpleasant emotions. I don't like saying negative emotions because they're part of life, right? So
Uncomfortable. Right.
unpleasant, exactly, uncomfortable emotions, unpleasant emotions, and just if you drink alcohol, if you eat sugar, just because you want to, not because your emotions are taking over.
Right. I mean, we talked a little bit about this, I think, before we hit record, that there's nothing more important than how we feel.
Exactly.
And so if you are in a celebratory space, if you are feeling true joy and you're with your friends or whatever, just like you said, that you're doing that, even if you're eating french fries and drinking a glass of champagne. It's like all of the nutrients that are available and the hydration that is available is what you're the vibrational match for. If you are, like you said, stressed, if you are making yourself feel wrong for doing the thing that you feel like you can't help yourself, and then there's shame in that, like all of that, that is having a terrible negative impact as well. And of course, we are just going to say this, but we know everybody is reasonable that is listening. We are not talking about making irresponsible choices on the other side of drinking, right? Like it's like I felt
Yeah, of
great,
course.
so I thought I should drive. And obviously, don't be silly. That's not what we're
No,
talking about.
no.
So, what caused you to focus on this work and create this program?
So actually, I didn't create the program myself. I just found it was a bit like, I would say fate, if you believe in fate. Like
I do.
I, yeah, then
We found each other.
I
So, yes, of course, I believe in fate.
exactly. I went, obviously, after the pandemic, I was embracing this new me, right? And I had already quit alcohol because I had a massive gut infection
Mm.
that came with stress, and well, that overdoing eventually made me sick, right? So that's why I had to stop in every way, because my body said, now you're ill. And now I had to take antibiotics. I had to do a very specific diet. It was a long process.
Mm.
So obviously the first thing that I stopped having was alcohol, because that was a bomb for my body. And after that, I just felt that I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to drink anymore. And that was obviously a personal choice.
Mhm.
The doctor said, if you want to have alcohol, you can. Now you're healthy. And I said, yeah, but I just don't want to. And I was still quite young. I was still like going out with friends, and everyone around me would be drinking, and I would be not drinking. I would be having a glass of water or a Coke or just any soft drink that I wanted, what that I wanted. And people would ask me, "Are you okay? Are you feeling sick? Are you not?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just embracing joy, right? I'm just embracing this moment in my full self, and I don't
Mm.
need to numb any part of myself to have fun." Obviously, that was a whole journey, because I had to rediscover what fun meant for me, but that is a long topic as well. But eventually, I realized that our minds and our bodies are very connected. And
Mhm.
because in my story, that moment when I felt that sick and I didn't understand what was going on, I found a doctor that told me straight away, you need to tackle what's going on. I'm going to give you antibiotics, and we're going to do all this physical process,
Mhm.
but you need to work on, like, I'm going to help you physically, but now you
Right.
have to work emotionally.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, I'm a psychologist, so I knew what it was about. I was like, okay, it's harder to implement it on yourself than to help other people
For sure.
implement it. So that's when I started my journey with therapy, and I was like, okay, I need to work on this stress, because that doctor told me, if you don't work on that, that is going to come back, because
Sure.
that's how your body is reacting to that stress. It's making you sick. And some people have a headache, some people like have different symptoms. And for me, it's my gut. I have stomach pains. And yeah, my doctor was like, if you don't tackle that, it's gonna come back. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to change. I'm forced to change, right? Because if not, I'll just keep getting sick, and I would be in this loop of
Sure.
sickness, that I like, health and sickness, that I just didn't want to, because I was like very young when that happened. Like I was in my early 20s when I was sick. So I just didn't want to live all my life like that, because I was like, I'm planning on living a long life, and this is too much. Like I just cannot deal with all this like cycle, right? So
Right.
that's when I focused my work on the relationship between the body and the mind. And because for like till then, I had always thought of the body and the mind as two separate things,
Hmm.
even though like I knew that they were related. Of course, they're part of the same like person, but I never acknowledged the power that the mind has over the body. And then after seeing it so clearly in myself, and in others, because when I started sharing with people around me my health journey, I realized that a lot of people were struggling with similar things because we're a stressed society and
Hmm.
everyone is having, like, a lot of people are having issues, especially women, because stress interacts with our hormones more than with men, like in with men's hormones, even though obviously they suffer from problems as well because of stress. Unfortunately, us women are more affected, at least what I've seen in my environment and with my patients, right? So when focusing on that mind body connection, I started getting more into complementary tools for therapy, mindfulness, meditation, hypnotherapy. And then when I was learning about all that and I was starting to practice all that and diving into that, I found this project that was emerging that is My Dry 30. And I contacted them. Like it was pretty much just starting. Like it hadn't it was it's an app and it hadn't launched or anything. I found it by fate, as I was saying before. I contacted them and yeah, I just started working on their project, creating content for them in a from a psychological point of view. And I just I'm so fascinated about this project. I see it as part of myself, even though I wasn't the creator. I've put so much work and effort on making it high quality and I don't know, like just giving tools for people so they can have access to so many good things that I would have loved to have access to during my journey that I don't know I've poured my life in it. So yeah, I'm very, very passionate about it. And right now it's more focused on having a break from alcohol. But during it's just to explain it to your listeners,
Please.
the app is a 30-day program where we encourage you to stop drinking and see how you feel. Explore. Just see how you feel. Because if we think about it, we like society makes us drink, right? That we're surrounded by it, by alcohol on TV, as you said before, on TV, on any environment that like, there's always alcohol, right? So if we think about it, ever since we start drinking when we're late teenagers or whenever people start, unless we're pregnant or we're ill, we never stop.
Right.
And when you think about it in a bigger scale, like, okay, how many drinks have I had this month? How many drinks have I had this year? And you realize the amount of alcohol that you've taken, that you've
Consumed.
exactly, and that all the money that you've put into that, it's just mind blowing. You realize, oh my God, that I'm putting all these toxins in my body, right? So having a 30-day break is very powerful because it's a reset for the body. It's a reset for the mind. It's just a way of stopping all those habits, all those routines that we have and reconsider everything that we do out of habit, right? Out of like automatically.
I think there's so much in that mental habit, right?
Mhm.
I've never been a
So much.
smoker, but I remember talking to a friend as he was stopping, trying to quit, and he so enjoyed the ritual of it. And he ended up becoming really passionate about doing breath work and the somatic work because it was really just the deep breathing that he
Hmm.
enjoyed so much about that. And you don't have to be, you know, smoking to breathe deeply. You can still do that and to pause and to remove yourself from a situation. So, all of these practices you can reframe and pull the benefits out of, which I'm assuming is what this program does as well. that because we have to, if we're trying something new, there's space in our day, in our practice, where that thing that we're not engaging with for 30 days or however long used to be. So if we just leave that open, something else has to take its place. So we want to be, I'm assuming, intentional of what takes its
Mhm.
place. So, what are those practices that you suggest? If I'm not going to drink, like what am I going to do on Friday night at 6 o'clock when it's time for me to go live? Tell me what's going to take its place.
So, because those habits are so powerful,
Yeah.
just because, like what you were saying, it's very, very difficult for us to embrace change because we are like, we love routines, we love habits, we love knowing what's happening and being in control, right? As humans. When we embrace changes like this, we know that it's hard from our team, like my Dry 30 team, we know that it's hard. So what we offer is we provide a 30-minute like tasks every day that you need to do for those 30 days. And those tasks are very little, you don't need to do much. It's pretty much just listening to hypnotherapy for 15 minutes and then
Oh.
journaling, so running a little bit for 10 minutes and reading about a topic related to habit formation, about
Mm.
having urges, about sugar, about being grateful, about the importance of connections that about you were saying before, all these things that are important for our lives to be happy and to enjoy the days that we're alive, right? So what we do with this program, these 30 days, are giving you time to giving you time for yourself. So you just
Right.
say, okay, those 30 minutes are gonna be on my own, and these are gonna be for myself, for my self-knowledge, for my growth, for my self-growth, right? So it's a time for yourself, and could be the time that you're drinking that cocktail, right? On the Friday night. And what we do with hypnotherapy is not obviously when people think of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, they think of the classic in the movies, like I'm gonna just swing a pendulum in front of your face and just
You're
click
very
my fingers.
sleepy.
Exactly. And you're gone. And then I'm going to tell you, rob a bank, and you're going to rob a bank. That's not going to happen, like at all. When you're being hypnotized or when you're doing hypnotherapy, you still, you're still aware of what's happening around you. You are aware of what you're listening to. And if you don't agree with something, you're not going to do it because it doesn't follow your values, right?
Mhm.
So what hypnotherapy suggests, what our hypnotherapy suggests is obviously first it brings to a very relaxed state to get more in touch with your unconscious, to get rid of that noise
Yeah.
from or our worries, our stress, everything, right? So
Yes.
all that conscious noise, we just dial it down and we connect with that state of relaxation. And then when you're in that state, you're more open to suggestions. So if I
Mhm.
say, you're not going to drink today, you're not going to have a glass of wine, you're going to go on a walk instead, or write a bit of your journal, or stretch, or call a friend, right? You're not going to drink today. It's like you're open to those suggestions, so you will have less and less craving for that glass of wine at the end of the day, right? Because you'll realize that you have more tools. And what are those tools? We also help with like finding those tools. We have what we call connection and action days. So random days of the month, you have a little message, a little challenge like, okay, today is a connection day. And the topic is grateful, like being grateful, right? Gratefulness and or gratitude. And it's literally, we just encourage you to pick up the phone, call a friend or a family member, and just say, thank you. I appreciate everything that you've done in my life. It takes 2 minutes. you'll make their day and you'll be happy because of that. It has so many benefits. So this is just an example, and we provide many other tools to connect with the people around you, to connect with the community as well, and to understand that there's many, many different ways to enjoy life, that they don't have to be surrounded by alcohol. But again, if after those 30 days you want to go back to drinking alcohol because it's something you enjoy, that hypnotherapy will help you change your habits, change your
Mm,
mindset. And instead of doing it out of habit or out of necessity, you do it because you choose to do that.
right.
So you can embrace a more moderate journey, right? Moderate consumption of alcohol.
Oh, it's so beautiful and helpful, and I'm really glad that you are co-creating with the people
Mhm.
that developed the app. You were definitely a cooperative component for the success of this program because of the mental tools that you're providing. How would you suggest? So it's summer, I want to feel good. I'm invited to all of these parties, or I'm leading a trip to France and there's champagne there. And I love it. And how am I going to, or how would you suggest that we go into these situations and these parties and these places that where it's become a habit and create a new neural pathway for how we do these things?
So for that, I have two suggestions that are quite powerful. The first one is very easy, and you can think of it as a bit silly, but it's so helpful. And it's think of what you're going to say beforehand.
Mm,
When people ask you, why are you not drinking? Or why are you not having another one? Just have something prepared, because then you'll be, as I said before, we love being in control. So if you know the answer, you'll be in control. And to be fair, you'll be surprised on how little importance people give to that.
yeah.
People are nosy and they're going to ask, what's going on? Why are you not drinking? Blah, blah. But that conversation lasts 30 seconds.
Hmm.
I've seen that through all my years of not drinking. I've seen that, like, people just don't care. They are too busy with their own lives, dealing with
Hmm.
their own emotions, with their own problems. So they're gonna ask you because everyone's nosy and everyone loves knowing and commenting about the situation. But after 30 seconds or a minute, they will just get over it. So first, think of a short answer for that that just doesn't lead to more conversation if you don't want to talk about it, and that's it. And then the second one is to always go back to the why. Always
Hmm.
ask yourself, okay, like you have the instinct to go for a glass of champagne or of a mojito or something refreshing in the summer, right? That way, everyone loves it. Like even I sometimes like I have a mojito maybe once a year because my stomach doesn't really like it, but I
Right.
I I like the environment, or like the what it what it means, right? So,
Right.
but I always go back to the why. When I have an urge, because I've had urges sometimes that everyone around me is having alcohol, and I used to enjoy certain cocktails or certain
Hmm.
drinks, and sometimes I still have that urge. After 5 or 6 years, I still get that, hmm, now I would have a drink. But then I always stop myself and I think, why?
Mm,
Why do I want that drink? Is it because I'm in the mood for it? Is it because I'm trying to hide something?
mm,
Is it because, I don't know, like I am trying to fit in because I don't
right.
feel like I'm fitting in, or I feel pressured? Why? I always ask myself why. And then it's a very easy question, because you either get, oh, because I'm in the mood for a drink, and then go on, have that
Right.
drink. Or I'm feeling pressured. I'm feeling insecure, and I'm going for a drink because that will make me a bit more talkative. But I always say the drunk self is inside of you. So you can always get in touch with that personality. What I was saying before, that it's a massive topic about that I had to reconsider about having fun. It goes back to that. I realized that the the drunk persona that I was inside of me. I just didn't need alcohol to access to it. It's difficult to get access to it because, of course, you have to lower your inhibitions. But
Right.
when people are drunk, it's the best time to try to do that. Because what's the worst that you could do? Like, everyone's going to be worse than you because all of them are going to be drunk. So, and drunk people make even worse decisions. So you can
Yes.
start playing with that. Um, yeah, just start exploring, seeing, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And I'm just gonna dance like there's no tomorrow. And nobody's gonna say anything about it because everyone is doing the same, but they're all drunk and I'm not.
Right.
But exactly, and people just don't think about that. But when you start like being sober in environments that normally people drink, you discover a new part of yourself. So I always encourage people to try it, and obviously with an open mind, because at the beginning you'll be like, everyone's just so boring when they're drunk. They always laugh at the silliest things, and that's not interesting, right? So be open minded and again, have patience, and you'll discover different parts of yourself that you can connect with, and you will get in touch more with what you like, what you don't like, and how you like spending your time. Because again, being patient is very important, but time, like we have a limit of time. We're not here forever, right? So why would you force yourself to situations that you don't enjoy over and over? So
Right.
yeah, I think I rambled a lot,
Right.
but
No, no,
that's
no.
pretty
I
much
yes. No, I
yeah.
understand what you're saying. And I think, we all of the listeners and me included, we're only available for what delights us. And saying yes to yourself does like sometimes that yes to yourself is yes, I want a glass of champagne. What do I like about this glass of champagne? Well, I'm in Paris, so check. I'm sitting in this gorgeous hotel, Les Maurice. There's live jazz playing. Like everything about this experience in this moment is a yes for me. And if I have half of the glass, that's great. It doesn't mean I have to have, I'm not interested in dancing in the tables and for sure not in that room. Like that's not a dance on the tables kind of place. But you mentioned something earlier, and I think, more so because I'm much older than you, I'm not necessarily worried about missing out on the fun because I bring the fun. I'm Wendy Harrop. That's what I do, right? Um, but what I'm noticing, and I would love your thoughts because I think this was a part of your experience, even as a young person. Like, as my body changes and my hormones are having a different role, and there's so much that I'm hearing. I don't know if now I'm just in different rooms that I'm hearing this, but more about the importance of gut health and how it impacts our days, and things that we used to be able to eat don't feel good in our body anymore, and things we used to drink don't feel good in our body anymore. Can you speak a little bit for me, the uneducated in this realm, what is happening and why why can't I do what I used to do and feel good?
Yeah. So I, well, I always say that the gut is the second brain. So
Mm,
if you're stressed, the gut will be stressed. So the gut releases a lot of neurotransmitters like brain messengers and hormones. So it is important that our gut is happy, because if it's not happy, then everything in your body won't work properly. right? So the what's happening with like why people are more um I don't know, they're more reactive to gluten or to lactose or
Mhm.
these things that are happening more and more is that obviously food is being more processed now, like compared to our ancestors that they had food as it grew in their lands. Now everything is just processed, everything is changed, right? Like chemically. So things that shouldn't be like having gluten or lactose or these things have those components because maybe they're good preservatives or they're better for the taste, right? Like for any reason. And what happens with that is that it's chemically injected in everything that we're taking in, like putting into our bodies. And it's not in a healthy way, and we're having too much of it. So obviously I'm not a nutritionist, so
Sure.
I have limited knowledge on that, and all I know it's because of my own experience with my health issues. But what I realized is that what, for example, sugar is everywhere, everywhere,
Right.
like in bread, in many things that you don't imagine, sugar is there. Like
Mhm.
you just you cannot imagine how many things have sugar, and that has negative effects in our bodies because we're not we're not used to, or like our bodies are not made for that amount of sugar. So eventually when you've for years and years and years of eating sugar or lactose but in a non-healthy way, the body just says I cannot do this anymore. And that's when again illnesses come or problems like health problems come, right? So I always encourage people, and through the app, we encourage people as well to make better choices, healthier choices food wise as well. As in, if you stop drinking, it's a very easy way to just go for chocolate instead.
Sure.
Because, yeah, who doesn't love
Right. It's
chocolate, right? So,
satisfying and it feels
exactly,
indulgent. Sure.
exactly. So many people just, okay, I'm not having a glass of wine, then I'm going to have a bit of chocolate, right? And then a bit becomes a lot because everyone's been there. So what we say is, okay, during the first week, you can have those moments of eating chocolate because you're going to have those cravings, and we accept that. But then on day, I think it's day 8, we say, okay, now reconsider your diet. We're not telling you to go on a diet, like a strict diet, because again, we're here to have fun, right?
Right.
But be mindful of what you put in your mouth, what you put in your body. Are you going to McDonald's twice a week? Are you buying food that's already cooked, right? But there's many companies that cook or pre-cook healthy meals.
Sure.
But then there's many that they pre-cook unhealthy meals. And we always tend to go to the unhealthy ones because they are more accessible. But more people are realizing that. And if you just search a little bit on the internet, you'll see the amount of companies that provide healthy cooked meals and they just bring them to your home. Like in the States, there's so many options. It's even overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, I have too much choice, right?
Right.
So we encourage to like people to try that. Okay, try like if you don't like cooking, of course, if people enjoy cooking, then just cook a bit more instead of having takeaway.
Right.
Or instead of having that chocolate, have banana or have your favorite fruit, right? Because it's sweet, so it's gonna satisfy your sweet craving,
Right.
and it's not gonna like kick you as the chocolate, right?
Right.
So yeah, I we encourage people to have like little changes, as I said at the beginning,
Yeah.
baby steps, but powerful, so they can
Hmm.
have a better health overall.
Thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate what you're doing and the wisdom and the science behind the decision making, that it's not just a challenge for the sake of a challenge, and it's not even just sobriety for the sake of being sober, but it's like you said in the beginning, it's just the reminder that we have agency and we have choice. And even if something feels like, ooh, this is going to be very big, I don't think I can do it, that small steps on a consistent basis is just casting a vote for the person we're becoming.
That's a very nice way to sum it up.
Oh, well, thank you. I've really appreciated this conversation. Thank you so much. Please tell everybody where they can find and follow you, how they can learn more about My Dry 30 and all the other things that you're working on.
So, of course, we have a website, My Dry 30, and socials. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on LinkedIn as well. And of course, you can download our app. And I always say as well, I challenge you to embrace this journey, this change. And instead of buying that bottle of wine, that
Hmm.
is buy this subscription, this program, and see how it goes. There's nothing to lose really.
And we will, of course, link everything down in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time, Sylvia. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. I really, really enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.